Welcome to Hood, the home of real stories, real legends, and the truth the industry never wanted the world to hear. And today, we're diving into a bombshell that has hip-hop shaking right now. Brand new, never-before-seen footage of Snoop Dogg and Tupac has just exploded online. A video that was never supposed to surface. This isn't just another rumor or fan theory. This footage changes everything people thought they knew about their relationship. For decades, fans believed the full story of Tupac Shakur's final days had already been revealed. We thought every photo, every interview, and every angle of that timeline had been exposed. But then, out of nowhere, a mysterious clip appeared online showing Pac and Snoop together after the date the world believed Pac was already gone.
Even when he played Hit 'Em Up the song, I didn't like the song.
Did you feel like it was
I didn't
too
like
much?
it. Right. I didn't like it.
At first, everybody assumed it had to be a deep fake or some internet trick. But once digital experts broke it down frame by frame, things got real strange. Familiar voices popped out, the background looked authentic, and even Pac's body language matched exactly how he moved in real life. The setting, the conversation, the energy, everything pointed to something way bigger than anyone expected. And that's when investigators traced where the footage came from. And the truth left the entire industry silent. People were stunned. Nobody could believe what they were seeing. Because the bond between Snoop Dogg and Tupac Shakur wasn't just friendship, it was history.
I finally got a chance to meet Pac in 1993 at a rap party for Poetic Justice in LA. And on that night, Pac passed me my first blunt.
Two West Coast icons, both born in 1971, who reshaped music forever and built a legacy that still echoes across the culture today. But what a lot of people still don't understand is that this newly uncovered footage and the recent revelations completely flipped the script on everything we thought we knew about Pac and Snoop's bond. It paints a picture that's way more complicated, way more emotional, and way more real than the simple stories the world has been fed for years. Their journey wasn't just about two rappers making records together. It was mentorship, loyalty, and a brotherhood so deep that it survived the chaos of the 1990s hip-hop world, even while powerful outside forces tried hard to break them apart. And now, with this footage coming out from the hidden vaults of MTV and private collections, people are seeing a version of their relationship that nobody ever imagined. A version that challenges everything we thought we knew about those last months before Tupac's tragic passing on September 13th, 1996. So, let's rewind the clock back to where it all really started. The year is 1993, and the spot is a major rap party celebrating the film Poetic Justice in Los Angeles. Snoop Dogg had just blown up with his debut album, Doggy Style, becoming one of the biggest new stars in the game. But on that night, something happened that changed his entire path forever. You might think it's something simple, like a blunt, but stay with me, because it was way deeper than that. That moment wasn't just about passing smoke. It was the start of a bond that reshaped their lives. It was Tupac who introduced Snoop to smoking blunts, a habit that Snoop later said became the foundation of his laid-back style and calm persona that turned into his signature trademark. Tupac put me on that, he once said, and that moment sparked a connection that nobody saw coming. This moment wasn't just about learning a new way to smoke, it was deeper than that. Tupac saw something in Snoop that Snoop hadn't fully realized in himself yet. Pac recognized raw potential and pushed Snoop to step into a bigger version of who he could be, and that energy became the foundation of their entire bond.
That's right. Tupac is the one that got Snoop Dogg smoking blunts. You see, I was a zigzag man before that shit.
Fast forward to 1995, Tupac was sitting in prison and the whole world thought his career was finished. But Snoop didn't see an ending. He saw a chance to change everything and bring Pac back into the spotlight. And when Tupac signed with Death Row Records right after his release, something powerful happened. Both artists were standing at huge turning points in their lives, and instead of just working together, they became family. Their chemistry was unreal. Pac's explosive, passionate delivery matched perfectly with Snoop's smooth, relaxed flow, creating a balance the culture had never seen before. Together, they crafted tracks that shook hip-hop forever, including two of America's Most Wanted from Pac's legendary double album, All Eyes on Me, the very first double album in rap history.
And then, in 1995, I told Suge Knight, I said, Suge, get Pac out of prison, have him come join our team at Death Row Records, you know, the most unfuckwittable record label of all time.
That record became an instant West Coast anthem, and it still echoes through speakers today. But what makes the newly uncovered footage so intense is what it reveals beyond the music. It shows the real depth of their connection, not just business moves or studio sessions, but a personal brotherhood that went far beyond the spotlight. And here's something most people never knew. When Snoop's first son, Corday, was born in 1994, Tupac stepped up like a real uncle figure, supporting Snoop through one of the most important moments of his life. That's the kind of bond they shared. Real loyalty, real connection, real life. Picture this scene for a second. Snoop is inside the recording booth working on his album Dogg Father, and right outside the glass window sits Tupac, calmly feeding Snoop's newborn son McDonald's during those long, exhausting studio nights. Even Snoop himself later admitted that Pac acted like a better father in those moments, saying Tupac taught him how to balance family with the pressure and madness of fame. Think about how deep that is. Tupac Shakur, known for his fierce intensity and relentless drive, taking the time to help a friend learn how to be a real father. This wasn't about cameras, image, or building publicity. This was real loyalty, real mentorship, pure brotherhood at its core, and it didn't stop there. Tupac even played matchmaker, pushing an unsure Snoop to marry his high school sweetheart Shante Broadus in 1997. And look how that turned out. The couple has stayed together ever since. That longevity is a living reminder of Pac's guidance and his genuine care for Snoop's future outside the music grind. Now let's get into the footage that just came out, because this is where the truth hits different. These clips capture raw, unfiltered moments where you can see their bond without industry filters or rehearsed talking. One rare piece of footage dated February 22nd, 1996, shows a powerful celebration, only a few weeks after Snoop was cleared in the highly publicized case involving Philip M., a situation that almost destroyed his career. The crew gathered for a victory dinner at Monty's Steakhouse in Los Angeles, a classic spot where Death Row celebrated their biggest wins. And that night was filled with real emotion, unity, and relief. This footage might be less than a minute long, but it speaks louder than any interview ever could. It shows Tupac and Snoop standing together in a dim parking lot outside the restaurant. No stage moments, no acting for the camera, no dramatic speeches. Just two brothers sharing pure joy and relief after surviving one of the toughest chapters of their lives. What makes this clip so powerful is how real it is. It reminds everyone that their connection was more than music. It was family. This was before the tension hit, before the rumors and the fallout that would later separate them. This was the version of Tupac and Snoop fans still remember with love. Two young kings riding high, standing shoulder to shoulder through the chaos. But the most revealing footage comes from behind-the-scenes material filmed during the creation of two of America's Most Wanted in Los Angeles, right after Tupac got released from prison in October 1995. This wasn't just another studio session. This was creative energy at its absolute peak. The clip shows them working side by side, and the chemistry is unreal. Tupac rocking a white shirt, Snoop in a clean suit and hat, sharing laughs, working ideas, and building greatness. At one point, Snoop describes Tupac as his critic, fan, and friend, the one who motivated him to stay sharp without ego or jealousy.
Even when he played Hit 'Em Up the song, I didn't like the song.
Did you feel like it was
I didn't
too
like
much?
it.
Right.
I didn't like it.
Than local street crews. They even compare their styles. Tupac as the relentless fighter chasing impact, and Snoop as the calm, strategic thinker playing the long game. And then comes the moment that feels almost prophetic. Both artists confidently claiming that this video would define hip-hop in 1996, with Tupac pushing the belief that their music was about to change everything. But nobody could have predicted the tragedy waiting right around the corner. The moment that would tear apart a brotherhood that once felt unbreakable. By mid-1996, hip-hop wasn't just competitive anymore. It was a battlefield. The tension between Death Row Records on the West Coast and Bad Boy Records on the East Coast had gone way beyond music. It turned personal, dangerous, and real. Right in the middle of that storm stood two friends, Snoop and Tupac, whose loyalty was about to be tested harder than anyone could ever imagine. To understand what really went down between them, you have to step into Tupac's mindset during that time. Fresh out of prison, still dealing with the trauma of the November 1994 Quad Studios shooting, Pac believed East Coast figures like Notorious B.I.G. and Puff Daddy had something to do with what happened to him. That experience changed him forever. Loyalty became everything, and he lived by an all-or-nothing code. Pac expected full unity from the entire Death Row family, as no hesitation, no mixed signals, no friendly feelings toward the other side. Anything less felt like disloyalty to him. But Snoop, he saw things differently. He wasn't trying to jump into a full-scale war, especially not the kind Pac was ready to fight. Snoop was more peaceful, more focused on music and unity than street-level conflict. And that difference in outlook became the crack that slowly split their friendship apart. Things finally broke during a radio interview in New York when Snoop called Biggie and Puff his homeboys and publicly praised their talent. Even with all the tension between both sides, To regular people, it sounded like a grown, balanced take, showing respect beyond the drama, proving music could rise above industry conflict. But to Tupac, those words hit different. But to Tupac, already angry, suspicious, and feeling surrounded by enemies, Snoop's comments felt like the ultimate betrayal.
Because my didn't say nothing to me the whole ride. And that's a 5-hour flight on a private plane.
Yeah.
So I walk up to him like maybe 3 hours into the flight, sit next to him like, you going to Vegas, cuz? And he turned on me like this and started talking to somebody else. So I'm like, all right. So I go in the back, put the blanket on my head, knife in my hand, fork in my hand.
We have to stop for a second and really picture what Tupac was dealing with emotionally and mentally during that time. This wasn't just pride or ego blowing up. Tupac felt abandoned by someone he considered family. In Pac's mind, he had stood by Snoop through everything, through the high-profile court case, sitting with his newborn son, giving advice, helping him grow as a man and an artist. So when Pac needed that same solid loyalty after the shooting and during all the pressure surrounding him, he felt like Snoop was suddenly sitting on the sidelines instead of standing with him. And this newly surfaced clip reveals something important about Snoop's mentality during that period. Snoop understood that Pac's aggressive approach, especially the energy behind the infamous diss track Hit 'Em Up, was pulling them into danger they weren't ready for. Snoop knew that serious people existed everywhere, not just in their world, and acting untouchable could put all of them at serious risk. But Tupac couldn't see it the same way, and eventually, the tension exploded on a private flight where Pac confronted Snoop, one of the most heartbreaking moments in their entire friendship. Let this sink in. 5 hours on a private jet, and Tupac didn't say a single word to Snoop. Silence heavier than shouting. Imagine the confusion, the pain, and the fear running through Snoop's mind in that moment. A friendship once built on trust suddenly frozen solid. And the fact that Snoop felt he needed to protect himself by carrying knives onto that plane says everything about how dangerous and unstable things had become. But the story gets even more complicated when you start looking at all the different perspectives from the people who were actually there.
We're gonna make it specific as to what you could talk about and what you can't talk about. And the East Coast, West Coast thing is something that the journalists and people are making just to get paid off this so it can drag out. So they're perpetuating this so it could be drama.
Members of Tupac's crew, the Outlaws, especially Napoleon, claimed that Snoop felt jealous over how fast Tupac took over at Death Row, saying Pac's quick rise pushed Snoop out of the spotlight he once owned. Even Suge Knight later suggested that jealousy from Snoop and Dr. Dre played a role in the downfall of Death Row. Now, is there truth in those claims? The answer isn't simple. Before Tupac arrived, Snoop was the top star of the label, the face of the West Coast, after dropping his massive album, Doggy Style. Then Pac comes home from prison and almost instantly becomes the new leader and center of attention, shaking up the entire power balance. Tupac reportedly began to see Snoop as what he called a studio gangster, tough in lyrics, but not willing to jump into real conflict. A label Pac later echoed in the track, Against All Odds. In online discussions today, from Reddit threads to debates on X, often push the idea that Pac was right, painting Snoop as selfish and disloyal. But is that a fair judgment? That's the real question. Snoop openly admitted that he was scared during that period, saying he armed himself and pulled back from the conflict to protect his future. But ask yourself, is that weakness or is that smart strategy? Is that betrayal or survival instinct? Snoop was thinking about his family, his future, and the long game. He had a newborn child, a woman he loved, and a career that could last far beyond the dangerous situation the East versus West rivalry had turned into. Sometimes survival isn't about fighting, it's about knowing when to walk away before everything collapses. Tupac, on the other hand, was moving through life fueled by deep trauma, heavy paranoia, and a mindset that seemed ready to accept violence as unavoidable. His world was filled with pressure from every direction, and his reactions came from real pain, not just emotion. Their final in-person exchange was cold and heartbreaking, a moment that showed just how far things had fallen. When Snoop invited Tupac to the legendary Vegas fight, the same night everything would change forever, Tupac shut him down instantly, saying, "Nah, I'm good."
You know.
If it did exist, Pac, we wouldn't be here. So
Right, and if it
let you
exists,
know it's
how we gonna be
non-existent.
sitting in New York talking about it? We'll try to be better role models, and y'all try to stop putting that drama out there. You got a lot of power, a lot of responsibility. We both do. We both need to exercise greater restraint.
That short sentence hit like a door slamming in Snoop's face, ending a friendship that once felt unbreakable. That silence carried more weight than any argument ever could. But here's where the story flips. because new footage that recently surfaced adds context nobody had before. Just 3 days before Tupac lost his life, MTV filmed an interview that didn't get real attention until now. And what's in that clip changes everything we thought we understood. In that interview, Tupac speaks openly about how the media was exaggerating and exploiting the East versus West drama to sell stories and make money, stirring conflict that didn't need to exist. And the most important detail, Snoop Dogg is sitting right next to him during the interview. This footage matters because it proves that even in those final days, their relationship wasn't fully broken. They were still talking, still sitting side by side, still moving together publicly. Tupac was acknowledging leadership and responsibility, not trying to burn bridges beyond repair. So the idea that everything ended in pure hatred, that story doesn't line up with what this clip shows. And the most haunting footage of all comes from July 4th, 1996. Tupac's final live performance at the House of Blues in West Hollywood. A night filled with energy, emotion, and a chilling sense that something major was coming. That benefit show for the Beverly Hills Teen Choice Awards would become Tupac's final performance, his real swan song. And the footage from that night is unreal. The energy in the room is something that words barely capture. The stage is glowing in purple and blue lights, fireworks exploding behind the performers, and a packed crowd of around 500 people losing their minds with every beat. Tupac steps out shirtless, rocking white pants, sweating under the lights with unstoppable adrenaline. Leaping across the stage, swinging the mic, crowd surfing during California Love. Owning every second like he knew time was running short. The energy was electric, pure history unfolding in real time. Then Snoop walks out in loose jeans and a marching-style jacket, and they launch into two of America's most wanted, like two generals leading an army. They trade bars smooth and flawless, locking eyes, hyping each other up, ad-libbing lines, and celebrating each verse.
I think we was playing a video game, and we kept getting a whole bunch of calls and pages. Somebody told us to turn on the news, and we turned the news on, and we seen the little shit.
At one point, Snoop daps Tupac mid-verse, both smiling wide through smoke and lasers like brothers sharing a victory moment. If there was tension between them, you'd never guess it from this performance. What you see on that stage is unity, two icons at the absolute peak of their craft creating magic for the last time. People call this show hip-hop's Last Supper, a moment filled with joy, power, and greatness. While hiding the cracks that existed underneath the surface, the duet clip has now pulled in over 100 million views across social platforms, celebrated for that smooth chemistry that defined the G-Funk era. And here's a wild twist. Warren G later revealed that an unexpected visit to his home kept Snoop in L.A. on September 7th, 1996, the night Tupac was fatally injured in Las Vegas. A decision that might have been the reason Snoop is still alive today. The fact that Snoop wasn't on that trip to Vegas has fueled decades of conspiracy theories and wild speculation. People have created every kind of storyline, from secret betrayals to set up rumors. But maybe the truth is way more simple and way more heartbreaking. Snoop wasn't there because the friendship, while not completely broken, had already been deeply damaged by pressure and forces bigger than either of them could control. So, what's really left when you strip away all the noise? Is there a truth hidden underneath everything the world thinks it knows? Let's break it down. Legacy, loyalty, and the real love that stayed. When the call came on September 7th, 1996, saying Tupac had been shot, Snoop's world stopped instantly. The news hit like a punch to the chest. Snoop took the next flight straight to Las Vegas, desperate to see his brother, hoping deep down that Tupac would fight his way back again, just like he always did.
Right after I heard Tupac got shot, I immediately flew to Vegas, and I walked in the room and I seen him laid out on the bed with all kind of tubes and shit in him, and I was so weak I damn near fell over. And his mom came over to me and she grabbed me and she held me up and she said, "Baby, you got to be strong." And I went and sat next to him and was whispering to him, telling him I loved him and to hold on and he was gonna be okay.
But what Snoop walked into at that hospital changed him forever. That moment, Snoop holding Tupac's hand, whispering to him, trying to reach him even though Pac wasn't conscious, that's where the real story lives. Their spirits connected one last time, stronger than any conflict between them. And the truth of their relationship isn't in the arguments, the silence on that private plane, the tension, the rumors, or the diss tracks. The truth is in that hospital room, two brothers holding on to each other in the darkest moment, proving that loyalty doesn't disappear even when life gets messy. In the end, there was still love, real love, and nothing can erase that.
When I sat down to gather my thoughts about my label mate, my homie, and my brother, there's one thought that kept coming back to me. Tupac, the actual human being. And while many remember him now as some kind of thugged out superhero, Tupac knew he was only human, and he represented through his music like no one before. It's a fact that he never shied away from. He wore it like a badge of honor.
6 days later, September 13th, 1996, Tupac Shakur passed away at just 25 years old. And ever since, Snoop has carried the weight of that loss. Along with all the complicated emotions surrounding those final fractured months of their friendship, it's a burden that never fully fades. But here's what the newly surfaced footage and Snoop's later reflections prove. Despite the tension, despite the arguments, despite all the outside forces that push them apart, Snoop says the love between them never disappeared. He has always insisted their bond stayed unbreakable at its core, no matter how rough things got. For almost 3 decades, Snoop has backed those words with action. In 2017, he inducted Tupac into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, delivering a powerful, emotional speech that exposed the depth of their connection and the grief he still carries to this day. Snoop has repeatedly said that Tupac changed his life, calling Pac's belief in him deeper than the belief he had in himself, and describing Pac's unmatched dedication and work ethic as one of the biggest lessons he ever learned. Their shocking reunion through hologram at Coachella 2012 left fans speechless, with Snoop performing 2 of America's Most Wanted next to Tupac's digital image, a moment that felt both historic and heartbreaking for people who had waited 16 years to see them together again. Even now, Snoop continues to reflect on Pac's lessons, from creativity to discipline to family values. He even credits Tupac for influencing his loyalty to his wife Shantae, reminding him what real commitment looks like. The fact that Snoop and Shantae are still together today, decades later, stands as a real reminder of Tupac's wisdom and how deeply he cared about the people around him. Their marriage is living proof that Pac's guidance came from a place of genuine love and loyalty, not ego or image. So what does this newly uncovered footage really reveal? What truth does it expose that flips everything we thought we knew? It shows that Tupac and Snoop learned from each other, grew from each other, and built a legacy that reaches far beyond any drama, conflict, or pain. No piece of footage can rewrite the history we already know. Tupac is still gone, taken at just 25 years old, and the tension between him and Snoop in those final months was real and heavy. The pain was real. The loss was devastating. But now, with this new perspective, we see the full picture.
See, that's the thing with Pac. When he loves hard. Whether that was him loving black people, him loving his homies, him loving his record label, and of course, him loving his beautiful and incredibly strong mother, the late Afeni Shakur.
We understand the depth of their connection in a way we never could before. Even when everything seemed to be falling apart, even when outside forces pushed them in opposite directions, the love between these 2 brothers didn't break. At their core, their chemistry was untouchable. Their music still echoes through generations, and their story, now seen through new lenses and years of reflection, reminds us that even the most complicated friendships can carry a level of loyalty that survives everything. So what do you think? Did the divide between Tupac and Snoop run deeper than the world ever knew? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. And don't forget, like this video, comment your opinion, share it with someone who loves hip-hop history, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next Spill Hood breakdown. See you in the next one.